session titled A Vertical City Building, about the luxury and the well-being of individuals, delivered by Loco Corci, the founder of Loco Corci for Architecture, who will give us an overview about this very important subject.
So good afternoon, first of all, and thank you for. My name is Luca Curci. I'm an Italian architect, and I'm based in south of Italy and in Venice. Today I will present a project about my office related to contemporary cities and new sustainable way of living, to solve some problems related to what is happening in our planet, on our Earth. And we are fighting against many really big problems with the high water, and a lot of cities are living the risk to disappear. As you can imagine, cities like Miami, or the cities where I live now in this moment, that is Venice, are slowly disappearing, and the high tides and water are starting to increase year by year. My proposal starts by the idea that we can do something, and we can create new projects to solve parts of this problem and to adapt, as our humankind has been during all the entire history, to adapt us on this planet. We are guests here on this earth, and we have to try to respect our planet. And I will try to explain you today what I think about. I start with some examples from reports from big institutions of the world, in which I explain that by 2015, 90% of the world's cities will be vulnerable, as I said, to inundations. And I'm talking about many, many cities. It's around more than 70% of the cities in the world that are living this kind of problem. The high water and the rising water level will create many issues. First of all, from an economical point of view, because we will have to move and to recreate and to change our daily life. And from other sociological points, we have to rethink about how to live everyday life. That's amazing, because if you think that we live in cities with another idea, and thinking about that this will happen soon. It's not an idea, it's what's happening. And nobody talks a lot about this, but this is what's happening. And we have to find a way to adapt. In this graphic, I explain what I was telling, bringing you the example of some cities like Shanghai, Alexandria, or Miami. And the gray level is the water today. And these are official maps that I'm showing you, in which you can see how is today the situation. That's what will happen. With the 3 degrees high temperature and high water rising levels, this is what will happen. Miami will be completely underwater, for example. Shanghai will be the same. And the same will happen to Alexandria. The other big problem is that we are now more than 3 times the sustainable number of inhabitants on our planet. And 3 times more means that we are 3 times problems with living in our contemporary cities. And the big problem is that 3 times the number of inhabitants now means that we have to rethink the central sites of the cities and the suburbs. All the areas around in which a lot of poor people are living have to change again because they live now in conditions in which they are so distant. If you think about some cities like Los Angeles, from one side to another, we have more than 100 kilometers. And it's not affordable. It's something like we cannot imagine, we cannot meet people. It's not human. We tried to extend cities in 2 dimensions until today. And so what we created, it was like city shaping only on 2 dimensions. And when we have seen during last centuries that the number was increasing, the number of citizens was going up, we decided to create skyscrapers, high buildings in the 3rd dimension. But the main problem was that in this way, we create more alienation inside these columns, these vertical elements, because we were living every day moving on the 2 dimensions, so horizontally, and when we have to move inside skyscrapers, we move vertically. It's not connected to a social kind of life. It's against any kind of community system. It's destroying the community system. And that's why, if you think, in last century, a lot of social media and social life started. It started because we started to be alone inside these towers, and any kind of connection and any kind of purpose for what cities were created from the beginning disappeared, and is disappearing more. Think about every city in which you live today. There are no the ancient agora, the ancient or the starting squares in which people started to meet and think about philosophy, think about and talk about new project, having relations, is disappearing because new cities are going in the direction of disgregation. And the other problem is that the increasing number is concentrating in the city centers, and the cities are not ready to host all these people. And by 2030, 5 billion people, so more than 1 billion in less than 12 years, will live in our cities. It's incredible because our cities are not ready for this. And contemporary to this problem, the global climate change is doing its work. So from one side, we have problems related to the main Earth planet. And to the other side, we are becoming more and more. Can you imagine? They are going against. And that's only a research from a USA institute, but if you think that the same problem we have in all other cities, less than 30% lives in the city center. The other 70% lives in suburbs. Suburbs means that everybody needs to move, so more traffic, more pollution, many more problems. And in terms of time, can you imagine that we have to move every day, traveling 30 minutes, 50 minutes, more than 1 hour to jump to our office and another hour to come back? That's incredible because we created this kind of urban system, and this kind of urban system is now working against us. Naturally, the urbans created many problems because humans started to be alone, as I told you, but we started to destruct the wildlife habitat because everything was inside our planet. Now is trying to find other ways to be alive. This is only a reconstruction of 100 years ago, and it's about how the suburban areas grew. And it was only at the beginning of 2000 years. Today, the number is going crazy up, and is happening what I'm telling you today. Cities, in terms of dimensions and site, occupy only 2% of our planet, only 2%. 98% is nature. But with this 2%, we used our resources, all the planet resources, in only 6 months. We have to think about many ways to change the system and to live in a more sustainable way. Today we will talk about only one of these steps, these sustainable cities and communities. Today the situation is this: 70% lives in suburbs, 30% moves and lives in the center, and sometimes moves for work or for meetings. But that's the situation. It's really important that you see this simple design, because you can understand what we created. If you think that many cities are longer, more than 100 kilometers, it's impossible for two people that want to meet in the center to meet every day, because they have to travel a lot. It's incredible. What we are proposing today is a new way of thinking the daily life, and in the new way of thinking cities in a vertical way. The project talks about a lot of green areas, because if you analyze today the skyscrapers system, they are vertical towers without green. They are shaped by iron and glass, but they don't have inside any kind of green areas, or they are not sustainable at all. Our system works with solar panels, is shaped by solar panels all around, and not only on the floor. It's all around shaped, and it uses other kinds of energy, like wind, like water, and inside the building there is a desalination system that brings water from the ground. Now you will see some pictures about. And this tower has inside, again, the social life. So new communities will be recreated again, because as you can imagine, the purpose of this project is to solve the problem related to the climate change, but to work and to think is a reflection on our community life. The project is made by these shapes. Each hexagon has 10 floors, and on each level, as you can see, there is green. There are common areas on the ground. Now I will show you in these areas. And there is wind that can be through the tower. So the tower will have sun everywhere, wind, and all other renewable energies that will work together to create this kind of system possible. This kind of solar panels will be all around, because we found a company that creates this kind of solar panels that can shape the skyscrapers, but at the same time they can work as glass. So they have double function, but the sustainable function will work to create much more energy. This kind of building is self-sufficient, and it is able in some periods to create more energy, and with a big system of storage energy, we will be able to have energy for other periods in which it will be less, or to sell. So from an economical point of view, this kind of system creates energy. This is how can be one of the ideal towers. And it's a 700 meters height. So it's not so much, it's not comparing to many towers in the world. And it's composed by 180 floors. And each of these modules is made by 10 floors. Inside this tower that is possible to reach by air and by water, you can find any kind of everyday life needs. For example, there are religious areas, common areas, green areas, market, and everything you need in a smart way. Okay, here you can see in more details what can be the situation on each floor. And this is the idea of garden. The other problem to solve is related to farming. This kind of system will have inside a self-farming system. The farming system will provide fresh food to the citizens of this tower, of this vertical city, and it will be one of the sustainable ways to reduce and create a circular economy in which everybody living here will not create and produce waste. We are trying to arrive to a zero production, a zero waste production. Okay, some interiors about the views that you can have, and naturally it's only an example. The common areas, as I told you, in which you can have running, meetings, and relax yourself. Think about this kind of system. It's not so difficult to think and to create. Think about having many skyscrapers, as you have in many cities in the world, and if you think to connect all of them, if you take groups of skyscrapers and you connect them with rings every 10 floors, you will create again communities to different levels. So it's against the alienation, the contemporary alienation in society, and at the same time, it will try to be an independent city in which the energy production will be completely self-done. From the technical side, the structure is created by steel and is composed by this a modular system. As I told you, there are many of these modules that create this 3D network, and this 3D network has floors. The shape is empty in the center, so the tower is completely ventilated. It's a 3D network of this modular system in which can enter wind, air, and light everywhere. Because one of the other problems of the towers now is that many apartments receive not so much light, and living inside a skyscraper can be not so simple. We have, in this case, not an apartment, not a duplex system of apartments, or normal residences. We have here independent situations like villas, but at different levels altogether. Here there are some examples about apartment floors and covered areas with the balcony area and green area to each level. This is only the half of one module. As I was telling you at the beginning, here there is the photovoltaic system, the solar panels, that shapes the entire tower, and that shapes all the inner sides of the tower, creating this 3D network and producing energy. All the materials that compose this tower are prefabricated in steel and metal. And it's really simple to create and to set up. and simple, smart living inside. It's an healthier lifestyle inside too, because if you are surrounded by fresh air, green, and peace, and you have a community around you, I think it will be better. And if you have less stress to move every day, only for, as I can show you later, business meetings or for your pleasure, it will be more simple. The urban system talks about this tower integrated to other towers, in which we created other purposes. The main tower I talked now is a living system. So we can live inside and we can have everyday life. But moving for work, moving for business, or moving for pleasure will be inside the structures around the main one. And so, this is the tower we just seen now. I presented the first one, that is the circular in the center. We have other 3 towers and 3 structures as moons. This kind of system brings more than 100,000 people. This kind of system works in a simple way. You can move inside this system by air and by sea, by water, and you can connect easily between the residential area in the center to the other areas. The other 3 towers that now I will show you in next pictures, works as offices, universities, hospitals, and everything related to a better life. So people living in the center, in the tower, can move to the other towers every day and just go back in a simple, really simple way. The moons will host holiday purposes and pleasure places like a spa and wellness areas, gym and yoga, and some of them will have beach on the water for relax yourself. As you can see, yes, it will be 100 renewable energy, and it will be characterized by solar, wind, and geothermal energies. And the main one will be residential. We will have stores and green areas. And the 3 other areas will be for offices, government, as I told you, health, and education. The moons will host hotels, shopping malls, wellness center, and spa. This kind of system completely creates a centrification of living inside the main tower, and no suburbs. No suburbs means less energy production, less pollution, and less poverty. One of the most important things in this project is about the poverty, because all the 70% that I showed you before of today poverty is settled in suburbs. With this system, we will not have suburbs. We will have 100,000 citizens inside, but we will have everything settled in the center. So the other towers will be dedicated to business and other residential and other, educational purposes. And no suburbs means a better quality of life. This drawing talks about the interconnected system about all these towers and all these urban system of vertical cities. They will be connected between them by water and by air, as I told you, and they will permit the increasing number of citizens, and they will solve many problems that we talked about at the beginning. This is one of the pictures from the moons. we will have many levels of hotels and wellness areas, common beach in the center, and the natural shape of the moon will invite guests to have pleasure inside these kind of structures. Another visualization about the moons. And this is the final picture. What I want to tell you today is that with this system, we are only giving you a suggestion about future possibilities of living our cities. And with my office, we are developing other smart ideas about this, with many more concentrations of citizens in different structures, but all the other projects are based on the same idea that we will try to reduce poverty and will create most smart and efficient cities. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. They can.